Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
You ever have someone look at you like you're a participation trophy their spouse settled for? That look happened to me at my wife's company holiday party, and it changed everything in about 90 seconds. The venue was one of those upscale hotel ballrooms downtown, the kind with crystal chandeliers and servers carrying champagne on silver trays. I'd come straight from a job site, cleaned up as best I could in the work truck. Nice jeans, button-down shirt, boots polished. My wife had been there since 5, networking. I arrived at 7:45, fashionably late by her standards, right on time by mine. She spotted me immediately and waved me over to a group of her coworkers. I recognized a few faces from previous events. There were the usual introductions, the polite questions about what I do. I'm an electrician, licensed, run my own projects, been doing it for 12 years. It's honest work, good money. I'm proud of it. That's when Brett approached. He was mid-40s, silver at the temples, expensive suit, the kind of confident swagger that comes from never being told no. Senior VP of something. My wife had mentioned him before, always with this reverent tone like he was some kind of corporate oracle. "So you're the husband," he said, extending his hand with a grip that lasted 2 seconds too long. "What do you do?" "I'm an electrician, licensed contractor. I run commercial projects mostly." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Oh, so you work with your hands. That's quaint." My wife laughed. Nervous, but she laughed. Brett took a sip of his drink, emboldened. No offense, but someone with her trajectory, her education, her potential, she needs a partner who operates at the same altitude, you know? Corporate. Strategic thinking. Not someone who punches a clock. The conversation around us had stopped. People were pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. He leaned in, lowered his voice just enough to make it feel confidential while ensuring everyone could still hear. "I'm just saying what everyone here thinks. She's outgrown you, buddy. The sooner you accept that, the easier this'll be for everyone." I set my drink down on a nearby table and looked at him calmly. Interesting perspective from someone who's had 3 drinks and doesn't know me. But I appreciate you making your intentions so clear. Then I looked at my wife. She was frozen, champagne glass halfway to her lips. "You want to say something here, or are we good with him disrespecting your husband in public?" Her face flushed. She grabbed my arm, fingers digging in, and pulled me away from the group toward a quiet corner near the coat check. "You're embarrassing me," she hissed. "Brett is a senior VP. He's just being honest about career compatibility." Career compatibility. Yes. Maybe if you'd gone to college instead of trade school, you'd understand how things work at this level. I stared at her, really looked at her, like I was seeing someone I'd never met before. "So you agree with him?" "I'm saying you could have handled that better. You made it awkward." "I made it awkward. Yes. Now I have to go do damage control." She straightened her dress, took a breath, and walked back toward the group like nothing had happened. I left, walked straight out of that ballroom, through the lobby, into the parking garage. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes waiting for my hands to stop shaking. Not from anger, from clarity, from the sudden, overwhelming understanding that I'd been making myself smaller for years and hadn't even realized it. She came out at 9:15, texted me first asking where I was, then appeared at the truck looking annoyed. The drive home was silent at first. Then her phone buzzed. She looked at it and smiled slightly. "Brett texted me. He feels bad about how things went." I kept my eyes on the road. "He texted you at 9 p.m. to apologize to your husband through you. He's just being nice. You don't understand corporate culture." "I understand a man who disrespects someone's husband doesn't text that person's wife unless he's testing boundaries." She exploded. "This is exactly what Brett was talking about. You're so insecure, so threatened by successful people." I pulled into our driveway and put the truck in park, sat there with my hands on the wheel. "I need you to apologize to Brett," she said. "Text him right now. Tell him you overreacted." "I'm not apologizing for being disrespected. Then I'm staying at a hotel tonight. Maybe longer, until you grow up and realize how your attitude is holding me back." I turned to look at her. "Option 3. I'll pack your bags. Save you the trouble." "You wouldn't dare. Try me." We went inside. She headed to the bedroom, probably expecting me to follow, to apologize, to beg her not to go. Instead, I went to the garage and pulled out her luggage. The big suitcase, the carry-on, the toiletry bag. I brought them upstairs and started packing methodically. Clothes, shoes, her laptop charger, toiletries from the bathroom. She stood in the doorway watching. "You're being ridiculous. Stop this. You said you're leaving. I'm helping. That's what good husbands do, right? Or am I not operating at the right altitude for this?" I zipped up the bags and carried them downstairs, set them by the front door. She followed me down, face flushed with anger and something else. Disbelief, maybe. "Fine. I'll stay with Brett since you're so jealous of him. Maybe he'll show me what a real partner acts like." "Perfect. That'll make everything very clear." She grabbed the bags, struggled with them to her car. I watched from the doorway. She kept looking back, waiting for me to stop her, to say I didn't mean it. When I didn't, she loaded the bags and got in her car. "Last chance," she called through the window. I closed the front door, locked it, went to the kitchen and poured 3 fingers of bourbon. 6 years. 6 years of me not being quite enough. Not educated enough. Not corporate enough. Not impressive enough at her work functions. I'd accepted it as the price of loving someone ambitious. But watching her defend the man who humiliated me while attacking me for having boundaries, that was the moment I realized I'd been paying too high a price for too long. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning was Saturday. I woke up at 8, made coffee, went for a run. No missed calls. 1 text from my wife, sent at 2 in the morning. "I hope you're happy. You've ruined everything we built." I didn't respond. I went about my day. Hit the gym, ran errands, picked up groceries. Normal Saturday things. And for the first time in months, I wasn't walking on eggshells. I wasn't calculating how my words would be received at her next networking event. I wasn't performing the role of acceptable husband. I was just existing. It felt like breathing after being underwater. Around 3 in the afternoon, I called my brother. He's a family attorney, specializes in divorce cases. "She left to stay with another man after giving you an ultimatum to apologize to him?" He was quiet for a moment. "Jake, you need to document everything. I have screenshots of the texts." "Good. Don't leave the house. Change the locks if you need to. And whatever you do, don't engage emotionally. Every text, every interaction, keep it brief and factual." We talked for an hour. He connected me with a colleague who could take my case. By the time I hung up, I had a consultation scheduled for Monday morning and a clear understanding of what I needed to do. I changed the garage door code that evening. The doorbell camera was already active, had been for a year after some package thefts in the neighborhood. Everything was documented. The text started Saturday evening. "We need to talk about your behavior last night." I waited an hour, then typed back. "I packed your bags like you asked. What else is there to discuss?" 2 hours later, Brett helped me get perspective. "You were completely out of line." "How's his couch?" "I'm staying in his guest room." "Not that it's your business anymore." "You're right. It's not." Around 11 that night. "Are you seriously not going to fight for us? You chose where you wanted to be. I'm respecting that choice." Sunday morning brought a new tactic. "I've been thinking all night. If you apologize to Brett and admit you have jealousy issues, we can work through this." "No." "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, I'm not apologizing to the man who disrespected me, and I'm not pretending my boundaries are character flaws." She didn't respond for 4 hours. Then, "You're throwing away 6 years over your ego. You threw away 6 years to defend a coworker's ego over your husband's." I just accepted it. An hour later. "Do you know how humiliating this is for me? Everyone at work knows we had a fight because of you." "Interesting. What did you tell them?" "The truth. That you got insecure and started a scene." "Did you mention that Brett told me you'd outgrown me? Or that you agreed with him? Did you tell them you moved in with him that same night?" No response for 3 hours. Then, "People are asking questions. This is affecting my reputation. Maybe you should have thought about that before leaving your husband to stay with your coworker. You're enjoying this." "I'm not enjoying anything. I'm just not protecting you from the consequences of your choices anymore." Sunday evening. "Fine. I'll stay here as long as it takes for you to come to your senses. Take all the time you need." Monday morning, I met my business partner at a commercial site we were bidding on. We were walking the property when his sister showed up. Megan. I'd met her a few times at company barbecues. She was an architect, worked with us occasionally on larger projects. "Hey Jake," she said, clipboard in hand. "Didn't expect to see you here." Could say the same. Reviewing the structural plans. "Your partner mentioned you might need some design modifications for the electrical layout." We walked the site together, talked through the project. She was sharp, asked good questions, understood the technical requirements. When we finished, my partner mentioned offhandedly, Jake's wife moved out this weekend. Megan looked at me with genuine concern. I'm sorry. That's rough. It's complicated. It always is. She hesitated, then added, I'm working late tonight on a proposal. Want to grab dinner after? I hate eating alone, and you look like you could use some company that doesn't come with an agenda. I almost said no. Then I thought about going home to an empty house and another evening of texts from my wife explaining my character flaws. Yeah, that sounds good. We met at a casual Italian place around 7. The kind with red checkered tablecloths and wine in heavy glasses. The conversation flowed easily, naturally. She asked about my work, actually listened to the answers. Most people think electricians just change light bulbs, I said. Most people are idiots. You literally make buildings safe and functional. You understand load calculations, code requirements, system design. That's not working with your hands. That's skilled engineering. The validation hit differently than I expected. I'd spent so long being made to feel like my career was somehow less than, I'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone recognize its value. Megan shared her own story. Married to an investment banker for 5 years who treated her architecture work as a hobby. He used to introduce me as his wife who draws buildings. Like I was a child with crayons. How long did it take you to leave? 3 years too long. She took a sip of wine. I kept thinking if I just proved myself enough, worked hard enough, won enough awards, he'd finally respect what I do. Then one day, I realized someone who needs you to be less so they can feel like more will never be satisfied. We talked until the restaurant started putting chairs on tables. When we walked to our cars, she touched my arm. Thanks for tonight. It's nice talking to someone who doesn't need to diminish others to feel important. Same. She hesitated, then added, I know you're going through a lot right now, but just so you know, when you're ready, I'd like to see you again. Not as a project consultant. As someone who enjoys your company. I looked at her, really looked at her. There was no agenda in her eyes. No calculation. Just genuine interest and respect. I'd like that too. Good. She smiled. I'll text you. The texts from my wife continued through Tuesday and Wednesday. Multiple calls I didn't answer. I can't believe you're ghosting me. This is abuse. I forwarded everything to my attorney, then responded. You said you needed time to think. I'm giving you that. Wednesday afternoon, my wife's mother called. She's been crying for 2 days. Whatever fight you two had, just fix it. She misses you. Did she tell you what the fight was about? A pause. She said you embarrassed her friend at dinner and won't apologize. Interesting version of events. Did she mention that her friend told me she deserves a better husband in public? Or that she demanded I apologize to him for defending myself? Longer pause. That's not what she said happened. I'm sure it isn't. Did she also mention she's been living with this friend for almost a week? She said she needed space to think. At his apartment, with the man who disrespected me, while demanding I apologize to him. I let that sink in. Does that sound like someone who misses me? Or someone who's mad her manipulation tactics aren't working? Her mother hung up without another word. But I knew the truth was finally getting out beyond whatever story my wife had been telling. Thursday brought a new text. Brett says I should just file for divorce if you're going to be like this. I stared at that message for a long moment. Brett seems very invested in your marriage ending. Has that occurred to you? He's just looking out for me. Unlike you. A man looking out for you wouldn't have humiliated your husband at a public event. But you're right. File if you want. My attorney's ready. That night, Megan and I had dinner again. Thursday, we met for lunch at the job site. Friday evening, she invited me to her place. She cooked, we drank wine, talked about everything and nothing. The kiss happened naturally, no awkwardness, no second guessing. Just two people who understood each other connecting in the most human way possible. I should probably mention I'm still technically married, I said. You're separated. She chose to leave. You're allowed to move forward. She pulled me closer. Life's too short to wait for someone else's permission to be happy. I stayed the night. When I drove home Saturday morning around 9, my elderly neighbor was working in his front yard. He waved me down. Your wife was here yesterday, banging on the door for 20 minutes. Looked pretty upset when you didn't answer. I thanked him and went inside. Checked the doorbell footage. She'd arrived at 3 p.m. Friday, tried her key, realized the locks had been changed, knocked, called, paced on the porch, then left furious. My phone had 12 missed calls and multiple texts. Where are you? Your car is here, but you're not answering. Are you hurt? I'm coming back tomorrow. We need to talk. I've made a decision. I've decided to give you another chance. I screenshotted everything and forwarded it to my attorney with a note. Documentation of her attempting to enter the house after abandoning it. Then I sent one text back. You've made your choice. I've made mine. She arrived Saturday afternoon at 2:30. I was actually at Megan's place across town, but I'd set up alerts on my doorbell camera. I watched her try her key again, knock, then call my phone. I declined the call. She started texting. I'm here. Where are you? This is ridiculous. I drove all the way back. Answer your phone. We need to talk like adults. I let her wait for 45 minutes, then headed home. Megan kissed me goodbye at her door. Text me if you need backup. And remember, you don't owe her anything. When I pulled into my driveway, my wife was sitting in her car. She got out immediately, looking exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair not quite perfect. Finally, she said, we need to talk. Sure. I walked past her, unlocked the front door, went inside. She followed me in like she owned the place, which legally she still did. I settled into my favorite chair in the living room. She sat on the edge of the couch, arranging herself carefully. This was a performance. I've been thinking a lot, she began. Brett helped me see some things clearly. I bet he did. Can you not be sarcastic? I'm trying to have a serious conversation. Go ahead. I realize now that you and I want different things from life. But I'm willing to compromise. How generous. She ignored that. If you apologize to Brett and agree to couples counseling to work through your insecurity issues, we can start fresh. My insecurity issues. Yes. Your jealousy. Your inability to accept constructive criticism. Your refusal to support my career advancement by networking appropriately. I almost laughed. Let me make sure I understand. You want me to apologize to the man who publicly humiliated me, then attend therapy to fix my character flaws, which include having boundaries and self-respect. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Everything is about your ego. You moved in with the man who told you you deserve better than me, and you want to lecture me about ego. I didn't move in. I stayed in his guest room while you had your tantrum. For 6 days. While texting me about my character flaws. While getting relationship advice from the man who wants you to leave me. Brett doesn't want that. He's just honest about what healthy relationships look like. And his 3 divorces make him an expert? Her face went pale. How did you? I looked him up. Married 3 times, never lasted more than 4 years. Currently paying alimony to 2 ex-wives. But sure, take relationship advice from him. That's irrelevant. The point is I'm here, giving you another chance. I stood up. You're not hearing me. I don't want another chance at what we had. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've had 6 days to remember what it's like to not feel inadequate. 6 days without someone making me feel small for being a tradesman. 6 days without walking on eggshells around someone who's embarrassed by me. I'm not embarrassed by you. You laughed when he called my career quaint. You agreed I wasn't operating at the right altitude. You've been staying at his place, getting validation for leaving me. Because you won't change. You won't grow. You mean I won't become someone else. Someone more impressive to your coworkers. Someone who apologizes when disrespected because it makes your networking easier. She started crying. Real tears this time, not the manipulative kind. I love you. That's why I came back. You love the version of me that accepts being less than. That guy's gone. So what, this is it? You're just giving up on 6 years? I'm not giving up. I'm graduating. From a relationship where I was never quite enough. She wiped her eyes, then her expression shifted. Something calculating. You know what Brett said about men like you? Blue-collar guys with chips on their shoulders? I'm sure this will be enlightening. He said you resent women who are more successful. That you probably sabotage my career because it makes you feel inadequate. I nodded slowly. And how many of Brett's 3 ex-wives would agree with that assessment? Stop bringing that up. Why? It's relevant. He's filling your head with theories about me while hiding his own pattern of failed relationships. You don't find that suspicious? At least he understands ambition. At least he doesn't make me feel guilty for wanting more. More what? More money? More status? Or more men who tell you what you want to hear? Her face flushed. That's not fair. Neither is spending 6 days at another man's house and coming back here expecting me to apologize. But here we are. He never touched me. I didn't ask. I'm serious. Nothing happened. We just talked. And what did you talk about? How inadequate I am. How much better your life would be without me holding you back. She looked away. He was being supportive. He was being predatory. There's a difference. But you couldn't see it because he was telling you everything you wanted to hear about yourself while I was apparently the problem. You're twisting this. No, I'm just not pretending anymore. 6 years of me being the guy who wasn't quite impressive enough, wasn't educated enough, didn't make enough money, didn't have the right connections. And I accepted it because I loved you. But love isn't supposed to make you feel like you're constantly apologizing for existing. There's someone else, isn't there? Her voice changed, hardened. You moved in with another man and you're asking me that? I knew it. Who is she? Someone who thinks skilled trades are impressive. Someone who doesn't need me to apologize for having boundaries. How long? Does it matter? You moved out 6 days ago. I'm separated. I'm allowed to move forward. You couldn't even wait a week? She was shouting now. You must have been planning this. You probably had her lined up. I met someone who treated me with respect. That's not planning. That's healing. Where were you yesterday? When I came here? None of your business. You were with her. I was not alone in my house being miserable, if that's what you're asking. You cheated on me. You moved out to stay with the man who wants us divorced. You gave up the right to police my time. It's different when I do it. I actually laughed at that. Explain how. Because I didn't sleep with anyone. You sure about that? Because you were pretty cozy in his guest room for 6 days. We didn't do anything. And I'm supposed to just believe you? After you chose him over me? After you moved in with him the same night you left? After you spent 6 days getting perspective from a man who's actively trying to end our marriage? This is exactly what I mean. You're paranoid. I'm observant. There's a difference. Paranoid would be if I accused you without cause. I watched you leave our house to move in with the man who humiliated me. That's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition. She was quiet for a moment, then said softly, he kissed me. I felt nothing. Not anger, not hurt, nothing. When? The second night. I told him to stop. But you stayed 4 more nights. I didn't have anywhere else to go. You have a mother, 3 sisters, a dozen friends. You chose to stay with the man who kissed you. I shook my head. And you came here to lecture me about my character flaws. I pushed him away. That's not the same as leaving. That's not the same as calling your husband and saying you made a mistake. You stayed. You let him think he had a chance. And now you're here trying to make me the villain. I'm not. I'm trying to save our marriage. By telling me another man kissed you? How is that supposed to help? I'm being honest. Isn't that what you want? I want you to understand that honesty 6 days late isn't the same as honesty when it matters. I want you to understand that staying at his place after he kissed you means you were considering it. Considering him. Considering a life without me. I wasn't. Then why did you stay? This will look terrible in divorce court. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screen with my attorney's contact information. Will it? You abandoned the marital home to live with another man. I stayed here, alone, for 6 days before moving on with my life. My attorney says that's actually pretty clean. Abandonment? I was giving you space. While staying at Brett's place. While getting his advice on leaving me. While texting me about my character flaws. I swiped through the screenshots. Every single message saved. Along with the doorbell footage of you trying to get in yesterday. My attorney has quite the file. You got an attorney? Monday morning. Right after your text about how Brett was helping you get perspective. Her hands were shaking. You really want a divorce? You chose Brett's opinion over your husband's dignity. You moved into his place. You came back with conditions and demands, not apologies. What exactly are we saving here? I made a mistake. You made a choice. Several, actually. You chose to defend him. You chose to leave. You chose to stay at his place. You chose to text me about my flaws instead of your own. Those weren't mistakes. They were priorities. She stood up, wiping her eyes. If you're seeing someone, I want to meet her. That's not happening. Why? Ashamed of your rebound? Protective of someone who doesn't deserve to be dragged into your drama. So you're serious about her? I'm serious about not going back to feeling inadequate. Whether that's with her or alone, either way, it's not with you. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Funny, that's what Brett said about you staying married to me. She froze. How did you know that? You pocket dialed me Wednesday night. I heard the whole conversation. Him telling you that you deserve better than some blue-collar burnout. You laughing. You saying maybe you're right. All the color drained from her face. That was taken out of context. What context makes that okay? She couldn't answer. What do you want from me? She finally asked, voice small. Nothing. That's the point. I don't want anything from you anymore. I'm not signing divorce papers. You don't have to. State law says after we've been separated long enough, I can get one without your signature. My attorney explained the whole process. It just takes a little longer. You've really thought this through. I had 6 days while you were at Brett's place. Turns out, you think very clearly when you're not being told you're not enough. She grabbed her purse. What if I apologize? What if I admit I was wrong? Then you'd be apologizing to save face, not because you mean it. And honestly, I don't need your apology anymore. I needed you to defend me at that party. I needed you to choose me over him. I needed you to come home that night and realize you'd crossed a line. But you didn't do any of those things. People make mistakes. They do. And people who love you apologize immediately, not 6 days later when their backup plan doesn't work out. Is that what you think? That Brett was a backup plan. I think you went to his place expecting him to validate your decision to leave me. I think when he kissed you, part of you wondered if he was right, if you really had outgrown me, if there was something better waiting. And when that didn't pan out the way you imagined, when reality set in, you came back here expecting to find me broken and desperate. That's not true, isn't it? You didn't come back apologizing. You came back with conditions, demands, a list of things I needed to fix about myself. That's not someone who made a mistake. That's someone who's mad their plan didn't work. She stared at me, tears streaming down her face. I don't know who you are anymore. I'm the same person I've always been. You just finally pushed hard enough to find my limits. And this is it. This is your limit? No. My limit was watching you defend the man who humiliated me. This is just me accepting that we crossed it. She grabbed her purse, hands shaking. What about everything we built? Our home, our life, our plans. You walked away from those when you walked out that door. I'm just not pretending they're still here waiting for you to decide you want them back. I didn't want them back. That's why I came here. No, you wanted them back on your terms. With me apologizing, changing, becoming someone who won't embarrass you at corporate events. Someone who'll let men like Brett disrespect me so you can keep networking. I'm not that person anymore. So that's it. That's it. You can get your remaining stuff next weekend. I'll be here Saturday between 10 and noon. Bring boxes. You're really doing this. No, you did this. I'm just not undoing it for you. She walked to the door, turned back once. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. The door closed behind her. I stood in my living room, in my house, in my life, and felt lighter than I had in years. 2 weeks later, I was having coffee with Megan on Saturday morning when my phone buzzed. A mutual friend from my wife's company heard through the grapevine that Brett got fired. Inappropriate conduct with subordinates. Multiple complaints. Your wife is not handling it well. I showed Megan the text. She raised her coffee mug. Karma works fast. Not karma, just consequences catching up. I used to think compromise meant making yourself smaller so someone else could feel bigger. Used to think love meant accepting disrespect to prove you were committed. But sitting there with Megan, coffee in hand, I finally understood the difference. Some people will never think you're enough because they need you to be less so they can feel like more. And walking away from that isn't giving up. It's graduating. 6 years of trying to be enough for someone who wanted me to be less. 2 weeks of remembering what enough actually felt like. Turns out, the only person I needed to be enough for was myself.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.